As those with the true heart of Christ, Yeshua, are waking up and are realizing their wrongful part in the beast system, I am finding that those that have been cast into outer darkness, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, are feeling very left out, even though they want very much to profess to be Christians, and I use that word loosely as I always say that. They want to be accepted as believers. They want to be accepted as Bible students and scholars, but they don't have the faith to step out of the system. So rather than actually say something like,
I know what you're saying is true and it makes sense to me. It's got a hold of my conscience, but I can't do it.
Rather than say something like that, their pride is in the way. And they do what the Bible said. They're weeping and they're gnashing their teeth in our direction. So let me give you a clearer example by using the illustration of what took place in the time of Messiah being here with us, in the times of the Roman Colosseums. First, you have to understand that the Colosseums were the initial way that the Roman Empire duped millions upon millions of people over time to become a part of those in the stands rather than those on the tarmac who were standing for the truth out of love. They took those people who were in the stands and proclaimed them to be the true Christians, and the ones on the tarmac were fanatics, heretics. They were of the devil because they were so fanatical, so radical. Now, there's also a difference between being radical and you can't shut off your love for one another. So those on the tarmac today, in our time of being thrown to the lions, so to speak, are being persecuted, much like the Christians were in the times shortly after Christ. We're being hated, scorned, ridiculed, because we want to stand with the truth of what we see in the Scriptures. Because our hearts are telling us to love one another, and that if we go by a government built on love, just as the Messiah was trying to show, being a king over such a governance in his time, perhaps now the world, not just the Roman kingdom part of the world as in Christ's time, but the entire world this time, is awakening to the fact that man can only write tyrannical government systems. Man can only legislate cruel laws to oppress his neighbor, because the laws always come from up top, from those elite who want to enslave the lower peasant class. They've always found ways to trick people into joining them to give them power so that they could achieve this. And of course, the biggest thing that was always in their way was the Bible-believing Christian, the Bible believer who truly understood that love was the fulfillment of the law, not oppression, not tyranny, not money, not wealth, not power, love. So the fanatics would always be thrown to the lions or given to the gladiators in the Colosseums. And thousands upon thousands of them were fed to lions and gladiators. And they were even burned alive, covered with tar and burned alive, as torches, lights for Nero's parties. My dear brethren, the picture I'm trying to paint for you is that just as the Roman Catholic Church began by slowly pulling people into the church system of traditions rather than the Father's law of love, they created the Roman Catholic Church for that reason, to slowly gain the appreciation and the acceptance of the masses in a false way, strong enough that those people would stand with the elite of that growing Catholic Church conspiracy, which is why we have so many Catholics today, because they preferred to take a piece of the pie from the take rather than stand with those who understood the perfect law of liberty under Father's instructions of love. So many today are falling right back into the very same trap, but in a slightly different atmosphere. We don't have big stone coliseums, as you're so used to seeing these images. We have television screens, cell phones, the internet, Google, teaching us in a theatrical way every day that the elite are the ones we should bow down to, obey, and worship, and that those on the tarmac are the fanatics, the radicals, and those who should be poo-pooed. So all the 501c3 churches make up the stands in today's Colosseum, where everyone in those stands, no matter what denomination of a 501c3 structure they're in, no matter what paganism they're in, no matter what kind of Satanism, witchcraft, or even psychology and psychiatry they're in, they all bowed down to the Caesar in the main box of that Colosseum. And they will all quietly but submissively give a thumbs down to the gladiators on the tarmac that have a sword to the throat of the strong believers who are willing to die for their faith. I've had a lot of people tell me,
when they put a gun to my head and tell me to either keep going with my beast connections and take the chip or die, I'll tell them to pull the trigger.
I've heard that from hundreds, perhaps 1,000 people over the years. And always in a dramatic way that I've heard it come from the pulpit, the Jesuit 501c3 pulpit. What they don't realize is all these people have been hoodwinked into an upside-down view of that. Because what they're really saying is,
I'm not going to come out of the system and quit helping Caesar oppress my neighbors until I'm forced to make a decision, and then I'll let them execute me.
Well, what good is that going to do anybody? At that point, it's too late. You've already been in the system. The chip is only a laughable joke being played on us, where the Social Security number and all of our other adhesion contracts are actually our received mark of the image of that beast system. We have already willingly signed into the system. We have already told Caesar we'd help him persecute those who didn't want to participate in that voluntary system.
Why not come out now while it's still lawful to do so? And while it can still benefit your stronger believers who are trying to help pull you out of it as well. And the third positive reason to come out now, that the Father and the Son will smile down upon us and possibly help stop this tyranny in the first place.
They've tricked you into waiting until you're forced to take a chip or something. So you're sitting back waiting. Why? Because you're comfortable in the stands with Caesar. We would help Caesar so long as he allowed us to sit in the stands with him. We wouldn't make waves.
Don't throw us down there with those fanatics, Caesar. We're with you. We're with you. We're with you.
I thank you for listening, folks. I love each and every one of you, whether you're in the stands or not. I'll stand on the tarmac and wait my day. Yea, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Hallelujah.
The Lord